Look at what is being said, not who is saying it. James Madison was born at Belle Grove plantation in Port Conway, Virginia on March 16, 1751. A diligent and dedicated public servant, among Madison's key achievements were supporting the Virginia Declaration of Rights and the Virginia Statute for religious freedom, helping to produce the Constitution of the United States of America and authoring the Bill of Rights, leading the Democratic-Republican Party, serving as Secretary of State, becoming the 4th President of the United States, and serving as Commander-in-Chief in the War of 1812, and the only president to lead troops in battle while in office. A respected leader, Madison was known for his brilliant persistence in politics, careful preparation, and hard work. Madison was part of the founding of the country and implementing the laws that the government was founded on, and that were put in place to keep government in check. However, he always made sure to make known that there were others involved in the process. Even though centuries have gone by, you'll see that the characteristics of people are still true today as they were in the late 1700s. The advancement and diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty. No nation could preserve its freedom in the midst of continual warfare. Crisis is the rallying cry of the tyrant. Public opinion sets bounds to every government and is the real sovereign in every free one. There are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations. History records that the money changers have used every form of abuse, intrigue, deceit, and violent means possible to maintain their control over governments by controlling money and its issuance. The purpose of the Constitution is to restrict the majority's ability to harm a minority. If our nation is ever taken over, it will be taken over from within. The purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe in blood for centuries. Our Constitution represents the work of the finger of Almighty God. The people are the only legitimate fountain of power, and it is from them that the constitutional charter, under which the several branches of government hold their power, is derived. A popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both. It is more convenient to prevent the passage of a law than to declare it void after it is passed. In republics, the great danger is that the majority may not sufficiently respect the rights of the minority. If Congress can do whatever in their discretion can be done by money and will promote the general welfare, the government is no longer a limited one, possessing enumerated powers, but an indefinite one. Charity is no part of the legislative duty of the government. If tyranny and oppression come to this land, it will be in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. A president is impeachable if he attempts to subvert the Constitution. Americans have the right and advantage of being armed, unlike the citizens of other countries whose governments are afraid to trust the people with arms. The means of defense against foreign danger historically have become the instruments of tyranny at home. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. Equal laws, protecting equal rights, the best guarantee of loyalty and love of country. The accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary, in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elective, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. Americans need not fear the federal government because they enjoy the advantage of being armed, which you possess over the people of almost every other nation. The truth is that all men having power ought to be mistrusted. If a man is not fit to govern himself, how can he be fit to govern someone else? The circulation of confidence is better than the circulation of money. A bad cause seldom fails to betray itself. Of all the enemies of public liberty, war is perhaps the most to be dreaded, because it comprises and develops the germ of every other. Enlightened statesmen will not always be at the helm. The very definition of tyranny is when all powers are gathered under one place. Philosophy is common sense with big words. Having outlived so many of my contemporaries, I ought not to forget that I may be thought to have outlived myself. Cursed be all that learning that is contrary to the cross of Christ. Each generation should be made to bear the burden of its own wars, instead of carrying them on at the expense of other generations. As a man is said to have a right to his property, he may be equally said to have a property in his rights. Democracy is the most vile form of government. The future and success of America is not in this Constitution, but in the laws of God upon which this Constitution is founded. Disarm the people. That is the best and most effective way to enslave them. No error is more certain than the one proceeding from a hasty and superficial view of the subject. A well-regulated militia, composed of the body of the people, trained in arms, is the best, most natural defense of a free country. Religious bondage shackles and debilitates the mind, and unfits it for every noble enterprise, every expanded prospect. All men having power ought to be distrusted to a certain degree. I cannot undertake to lay my finger on that article of the Constitution which granted a right to Congress of expending, on objects of benevolence, the money of their constituents. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. We hope these words will help you succeed and never forget to be kind to others.